Well, welcome to the Atlanta SEO for Local Businesses Meetup. My name is April. I am one of your hosts today. We have picked up this meetup that was formerly run by Bill and Rhonda Sarah, and one of them's here. I see I360 group in the participants list. So hello. We are going to be meeting once a month, and Andy and Trisha and I will be rotating speaking duties, and maybe at some point we'll be bringing in other speakers to talk about local SEO, and I'm really excited about that. For those of you who don't know, this falls under the umbrella of remote control living. So we bring small business education and remote living lifestyle tips to our audience, which is mainly small web-based businesses. But most of the things that we talk about can be applicable to most small businesses, whether you're remote or not, or web or not, because everybody needs a web presence, even though, maybe you're not building websites, but, you need to be able to harness that technology. So that's why we're here. And so we have several different meetups. We have the Woodstock Digital Marketing Meetup, which is traditionally a local in-person meetup in Woodstock, Georgia, but right now we're fully online, so that's open to everyone. And then we kind of combined that with the Remote Control Living Meetup group right now. And then we have this one. And I also run the Woodstock WordPress Meetup. It meets on the first Wednesday of every month. Then we've got this guy here, and then next week we would have the Remote Control Living Meetup, but since we're onboarding this one for the first time, I wasn't really super prepared to do 3 meetups this month, so we're all just gonna combine together today. So welcome. So next month though, we'll have 3. And then we may actually, I've been thinking about this today, we may do a specific one we used to have a women's entrepreneur meetup that went on for a while in person here. That was really fun. So I may bring that on as like a 4th meetup. So y'all let me know in the Facebook group if you like that. In the Facebook group, you can just search for Remote Control Living. There's a page and a group. So you want to like the page and join the group. And that's where we kind of have after conversations. I post links to the recordings when they're up. So it takes me a couple of days to get, sometimes more than a couple, to get the recordings edited. And we have a YouTube channel. So, and that's just Remote Control Living on YouTube. So that's where all this will be. And so let me get into introducing our speaker today, Andy Simpson. He's a UX strategy consultant and WordPress front-end developer from Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is our 2 weeks in a row for Minneapolis people. Rockstar at saying stuff. Oh, wait, this is not you. That's why I was like,
am I?
I know.
I'm like, shit, have I got the wrong talk? Just give me a minute.
Wait a second. Yeah, I had it messed up in the spreadsheet and gave you Michelle's bio. All right, hold on.
Whatever, yeah, works for me.
An Englishman of Georgia. Andy Simpson created his first website in 1996 and hasn't looked back since. He is passionate to help business owners and others in his industry to succeed. All right, I was like, an adorable badass. Wait, that was Michelle. Well, welcome, Andy. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I am going to turn over the reins to you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much indeed, April. Right, let's crack on. So there should be a link somewhere in the chat or in the Facebook or Meetup somewhere to the actual Data Studio report. So if you want to find that, so we can probably go through it live, feel free to click on it so you're there already.
I'm posting links in the chat for everybody to take a look at.
Fantastic. There's only 10 slides, and then we're going to go to live. We're going to go to some live data. We're going to look at the data from 2 websites. So there's only 10 slides of the part of this talk. 4 of them are about me. So let's get those out of the way, and then we can start looking at connecting to the data and take you through it. So what we're going to cover, sorry, the camera's there, my slides are there, so do excuse my sideward glance. So the biggest thing, we're going to connect Google Search Console, or GSC, as I might refer to it throughout the presentation. We're going to connect that to a Data Studio report, which is going to show us the what, why, where of search queries. So why? So we can see what questions are bringing users to your site. And this is the big one, or could potentially bring users to your site. So this is a really good one for content creation and keyword research. So keep that in mind while you look at the information. So you'll need access to your Google Search Console account. Now, there's no reason whatsoever that if you're a small business owner out there, that you don't have access to your Google Search Console account. It's your website, it's your data. If you've got access to your Google Analytics, there's no reason you should not have access to your Google Search Console. So hopefully you have. If you haven't, drop a quick email to your SEO specialist or your web designer, and they'll probably panic thinking, why do they want access? But trust me, after watching this, I think you will want the access to the Search Console. There's the link again, so please type that in. So we're going to look at the data. We're going to connect to 2 live websites. We're going to look at the data. We're going to play around. We're going to look at what data is provided to us. But then I'm going to show you how we can then manipulate this report so it suits your business type. So we're not just going to stick with the what, where, when, and why. We're going to also play with a few other queries that I'm going to suggest I use to for my clients to give me a better insight of how my site's performing for particular search terms. Okay. So a bit about me. You know me, I'm Andy Simpson. I'm married to the beautiful Debbie. We've got 2 cats, Bart and Lisa. I'm from Leeds in England. Now, if you've no idea where that is, many of you don't. I'm just outside of Alpharetta in Georgia. And Leeds is 200 miles north of London. So that's where I am from. So that's considered almost the north of England, because Scotland, anyway. So that's where I am. And I've been over in the United States now just under 7 years, which is hard to believe. We only came for 2 or 3 years, and look, we're still here. I was in New Jersey for 5 years, and then we moved down to Georgia in 2019. So I've been doing this web stuff for what seems like forever. A big chunk of my career has been in SEO. 24 years, SEO for 19. Well, I was doing SEO in probably 99, 2000, but didn't really know what SEO was. I was just doing things, well, anyway. And I've been in the legal for about 6 years. When we moved over here, I was here a year, and then I got into the legal side of SEO, and I absolutely love what I do. I love the industry. I love the vertical. It's very competitive, which I do enjoy. And the community is wonderful. I work for a company called Digital Law Marketing, so no guesses there exactly what we do. We do digital marketing for legal firms around the United States, from east to west coast to some bits in the middle. And we do the design, development, and search engine optimization for those. And we do some social and everything else in between. I'm very active. I'd like to think I'm quite active on Twitter. So that's one of my Twitter posts. I also was lucky enough to take part in, along with 40 other experts, I took part in the 2020 Local Search Ranking Factors Survey, which is run by Darren Shaw at Whitespark. And I think somebody might be posting a link to that survey. There's some nice local gems in there that you might want to have a look at. Right. So very briefly, what is Google Search Console? So all I did was Google, what is Google Search Console into Google, and that's the reply I got in there in quotes. I use it, for me, it's invaluable. I'm always in there digging in, looking at the data. It's a free tool from Google. And the part we're going to be looking at, it's your Google Search Console is your connection with your website and Google. You can communicate with Google, and Google tells you what it knows about your website. It's like an advanced version of Google Analytics, but it's not like Google Analytics. But anyway, but you get charts and tables and graphs and all sorts of other data information from it. The small bit we're going to be looking at is the search queries section. which are the actual queries. You can see there that the user has entered into Google search and where your site might have ranked for, whether it be on page 1 or page 81. Your site might have, and that's the part we're going to look at today. We don't need, this is what Google Search Console looks at like. So we can actually do what I'm going to show you in Data Studio. We can actually do it in Google Search Console. But Search Console is clunky and it doesn't, Data Studio just makes the data more informative and easier to read and share. So we can, so what is Google Data Studio? It's a free reporting tool from Google. It's been out, I'd like to think, I don't know, 5 years, 4 years. I used it in beta and I'm always connecting it to Search Console just to pull out data chunks so it's visually better, I can understand it better. So it's, again, it's an invaluable tool to me. And the report we're going to be looking at is just, for me, it's a very simple Data Studio report, but I use it all the time for its simplicity, but for all the information it can show me. Let's just crack on into the live data. So the Data Studio report is going to look like this. I'm going to connect it to 2 websites. One of the websites is a security company in Leicester in the UK. We're going to look at their information. And then we're going to connect it to a slightly larger site with blogs, and it's a bigger site, bigger, heavier site with more content. And that's a dental practice in New Jersey. So we're going to look at their data as well. And then I'm going to show you. So let's just jump in. Let's just jump in. So we're going to go live. So I'm going to come off PowerPoint and go into my, so this is the report itself actually in Data Studio. Mm-hmm. Now the information you see there, it's like, well, why is it showing things about Google and Google merchandise? Because this is a live studio report that I've shared with you, I can't really share live data from a client or somebody that I know. I don't want to share live client data. So this is connected to the Google Search Console data from Google's merchandise store. They share it, and it's available online. So it's actually looking at the data from their online store where you can buy pens and shirts and caps. So that's why the information looks a little bit weird, and it's all Google related because it's connected to their data. There's 2 pages. Now I've increased the size of my mouse pointer. That is not my default size of my mouse point. My eyesight isn't that bad yet, but so you can, because there's going to be a lot of clicking on the screen today. So we can see over here, look, there's another page, another tab. So we've got on that one, we've got the what, where, why, when, and then on here, we've got the how, are, can, and near me. Now I've added the near me because, again, my local search background, we're going to look at that query just in a few minutes, but that's why I've tagged that one on the end there. So the exciting part, we're going to connect this to your Google Search Console. And we do that, if you follow the mouse, we're going to do that by just clicking on this icon at the top right, make a copy of your report. Now, if you've never done this before in data, if you've never connected Data Studio, you don't even know what it is, you've never seen it, you're going to just have to tick a few agreement boxes from Google when you click on the make a copy. I think it appears when you actually click on copy report, or it might have appeared now. So I apologize, I can't show you that example because I connected to Data Studio. And all it is just an agreement to say, yes, I agree that I'm going to share my data with Data Studio report. So you're just going to come across a few tick boxes that you have to agree to. And then once you've agreed to all that, it takes about 15 seconds, you come back to the report and you're thinking, have I made a copy or not? You haven't. So then you have to go back to the copy icon, and then you won't have to answer those questions ever again because you've got that agreement sorted out of the way from Google. So we come to here, copy the report, and what we're going to do, so the original report that we're looking at right now, we're going to take a copy and then point the data that it's reading from your Search Console, from your Google account and your Google Search Console. So we need to do, we click on there and we're going to create a new data source. And then we're given a selection, there's actually a page full of different connectors. Now we've got Google Analytics in there, but we want to choose the Google Search Console and we select that one. That will then open the Google Search Console account that is associated with the Google account that you're in already. So if you want to be in a client's account, make sure you're in a client's account so you can see their data, so you can connect the data studio. Okay, so you then just do if you might see your business listed there already, that's great. Otherwise, we're just going to connect to this firm. We want to connect, so we just select, you then select site impression, web, don't worry about anything else. So you go site impression, web, and then hit the connect button on the top right. This now shows us that we've connected to the Google Search Console. And then all we do is hit add to report. So we can see there on the screen, it's saying, take a copy of this report and connect it to this Search Console report. And then we just hit copy report. And then, fingers crossed, playing with live data is always a little bit touch and go. So this is now looking at the data from a small security firm in Leicester, which is in the UK. We can see top left, this is the title of the report. So you can just rename that maybe with the name of your client or whoever it applies to. I'm just going to call it Biz1. We can see there. Now, when you first copy it, you're actually in edit mode. There's two modes to Google Search Console. There's an edit mode where you can edit the text and the tables and the lookout and there's a view mode. So I'm just going to select. So if you go over here to view mode, we can view the data. Again, we've got the two pages. We've got the what, where, why, and when, and we've got the how, are, can, and near me. And now we can see that the data has changed. That's telling me I've made a copy and it's looking at my client's data. Okay. Now, I want to give this report a bigger date range because at the moment, if you look top right, we can set the date there. We're only looking at this year's data. So we're only looking at like 3 months worth of data. So if I click on there, you can change the date range manually. Or what I want to do is I just want to give myself a big chunk worth of data. I just want to have a look at last year's data. So I'm just going to move this date selector down to last year and then apply. And then you'll see the data change. So we've got more. We've got more data there. Okay, so what we're looking at here, this is all your search queries filtered out for the term what. So we can see in this example, what is concierge security? Its impression on Google in the search results was 107 times. But average ranking for that, if you come over to the right-hand side, was 76, which means it's way down onto page 80 or 90. So although a link, the URL, the website is appearing on Google, it's way down the search results. So what we want to do is obviously look at the questions that people, so we want to look at the questions people are asking about security systems, security related topics. So let's just go on to the how, are, what. So for the R, for example, we've got the what skills are needed to be a security guard, average position 46. So we can see there the different queries. So each one's filtered by the how, the R, the near me, and the can on there. What did I? So with the average position, anything really above 20, you know, it's on like page 3 and beyond. So I'm looking for little gems which might be between average position might be between 1 and 1920, which means that that result is on page 1 or 2. So if I'm looking at some of the queries that are in position, let me just change, and you can sort the information by just clicking on the table headers. So I'm just sorted by average position. So what I can see is the query there is what you need to be a security guard. It only appeared twice, and average position is probably page 3 or 4. But I have to think to myself, do I want to include that information on my site because people are searching for that search query? What skills are needed to be a security guard? So this is giving me content ideas, thinking, okay, people are actually asking that question. Do I want to be adding that content to my site? If I do, then here's some content ideas. And then the near me, we can see on the bottom right there, security company near me. Now they don't rank for that term nationally. The near me search term is for users in the area of, for this example, in the city of Leicester. So people in the Leicester area are searching for those sort of near me terms. I do find the near me terms very useful just to show you how popular people are and what sort of terms people are using for near me and the various different search results, the different search queries there. Now, one little side tip, near me, as you can see, is pretty popular. So if you haven't got, if you're on a little side tip, if you've not got the words near me somewhere on your website or in your title tag, then you're missing out to perhaps some near me searches for people in your community. So just bear that in mind. It's for us as attorneys, we've found it very, very powerful. Just a subtle mention of near me in particular areas on the page. We do start ranking organically for that search term. Anyway, so this is the what I want to do though is focus in on and change the queries that we're filtering on. I wanted to make this more business specific for this guy, runs a security company in Leicester. So I want to see the queries with the word Leicester in the result. What are people typing into Google where my site appears, where somebody has put in a Leicester, a location specific query? So we want to make a copy. We go into edit mode and we want to make a copy of this page. So we hit the drop down and we can either create a copy by clicking here and choosing duplicate, or we can go to page and say duplicate page. Then when we do that, it makes a carbon copy of the page we've just made a copy of. So now we can edit these tables. So we select a table, and at the moment, that's being filtered by the word how. And I want to filter it by the word Leicester. So if you look on the right-hand side, we've not even explored this. This is telling us the information about this particular table. So we can see the metrics here: impressions, clicks, site click-through rate, and average position are the table headers there. So this information here is related to the table, but the filter is down here. So it's been filtered on the word how. So I'm going to remove that filter and I'm going to add a filter. The filters already get saved. So these are the filters that have already been created and applied to this report. But I want to create a new one. So I select create filter and it's going to be called Leicester. So I just label it so I know what it's about later on if I want to use it again later. I want to include everything in the queries that contains, so include query that contains the word Leicester. It's as simple as that. And then say save. And this table now filters the queries. Let me just change that to Leicester. that now just shows me the queries that contain the word Leicester. And so for me as a business owner, look, the security company Leicester, quite a popular impression. And this, when you go to edit mode and then go to view mode again, if we review this as a report, it'll go back to year to date. So let's change that back to last year. So security company Leicester, impressions quite high, average clicks only 4, we'll come to that in a second, and average position on page 1 is position 6, so that's actually quite good. However, the clicks are only 4, so so for me as a business, as an SEO, I'm thinking, okay, it's getting the impressions, it's got the position on page 1, but why is it only got 4 clicks? Is it something to do with the title tag? Is it something to do with the description that people want to click? You know, is it selling itself for people users to click through to that listing? Or is it just being beat? Is it just unlucky because it's at number 6? It's got the local pack above it, and people are just clicking on the results above that. All right. Now I want to do a search. I want to do another example where we go to edit. I want to filter on the word security because that's what the company is about. So I'm just going to change that text box. This is just a text box that you can resize and position just like any other WordPress formatting tool, or, you know. So it's nothing complicated. It's just a simple text box. This is where the magic happens. So in here, this is currently being filtered by, if I move over to data, come down, so this is being filtered by the word R. So I remove that. I come down to the bottom and say create filter. The filter is for security. I want to include everything that in the query that contains the word security. Save that. And now let's go to view. Let's change the date range to last year. So not a lot of terms there, but again, I've filtered down to, actually, I might have made a mistake there. Yes, so I'm filtering on the words R and security. I thought it wasn't showing many queries. So I'm filtered on 2 words, so just show me the words with R and security in it. So let me remove the R. Sorry, this big mouse doesn't help. Click on the. I want to click off. There we go. Whew. So now it's filtering on all the words that have got, all the queries that have got the word security in it. Now, I've got 4 tables on there, but I only want to show perhaps 1 or 2. I want to show that visually. So I'm just going to show you a quick way to how you edit this report. This report is yours. It's not going to affect any way the one that you made a copy of, my report that you've copied. So you can now do whatever you want with this report. This is your report. So I don't want to show all those tables. Take those 2 tables there. I don't want to see, so you can go to edit. I'm in the edit mode, and you just simply highlight and click. Or you can multi-highlight. Okay. Say I want to make this table a little bit bigger. I can just drag the table down there, and it's only showing 10 rows. So if you come over to the data view here at the side, it says rows per page. I want to change that to 20. And then suddenly we're getting more data that we don't have to click through on. So if I view that, I'm now getting a row of 20. If I wanted to, I could just ditch this one, bring this across. I'm just using my arrow tools to slide that table over. It's just a different way of presenting. You know, this query for security might be one I really want to focus on. So I just want to make the data more presentable. So when I go to view mode, I want to look at last year's data for that, the word security. Apply that. Okay, and then we can just click through the data. And remember, you can sort by position. All right. And one last thing, just before we move on to the next example, you can rename. So at the moment, my navigation looks like what, where, when, but it says copy of how, which doesn't look obviously very professional. So if I was presenting this to a client, I would just go to edit, and you can rename the tabs here. So I could just call that one security. So when I view it again, I've got the 3 tabs. I know which queries I've used. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you now. I'm going to, because I wanted to do it before, but I forgot. I just want to show you again how to copy the Data Studio report, because that's the key thing, because there's just a few things to select. And so I just want to repeat that small block. And then we'll look at the other website data. So this is the Search Console report that you've got a link to. You choose copy. You choose the source of the information. So create new data source. You choose Google Search Console here. Don't think, oh, well, I want to look at my analytics data. This report is written for Google Search Console, so it won't work with Google Analytics. There's a separate report altogether that would work for Google Analytics. So choose Search Console, find the website. If you don't see it listed, choose Site Impression, Web, Connect. It's telling me it's connected. Add to report. So this is the new data source. This is the copy. This is the original copy report, and then we're back to. Now, going forward, if you've got more than one client, you can actually copy the report you've just copied. So you could now, you don't have to go to my report and copy it. Going forward, you can just go to a report that you've copied already and just make, so for example, this one, if I'm in view mode, again, I've got the copy option. I can copy this report and then create it for another client. But remember, if you created some weird and wonderful filters and queries for that client, they'll also be copied over to the new report. So just bear that in mind when you create a copy of a copy of a copy, all that gets copied across. Okay, that was just a little side note, that you don't always have to copy this main report, but this one will always be online and you'll always have the link to it. Right, let's look at the other business information. So this is another client. So this company is a dentist in New Jersey, in Madison. Let's change the date range to last year. So like I said, there's one thing to remember. If you make a copy of this, what, why, where report, and apply it to your Google Search Console, and you don't see a lot of data in there, it's probably telling you that you've got weak data. You're not providing the content that's already making you rank or appear on Google for particular search terms. So bear that in mind. So if it's empty or you've just got one or two, you think, maybe this might be a little bit light and we're not even answering the questions that people are using. At least we can see on here, we might not be ranking high for it, but at least our content is working for us. We are appearing for particular search queries in the search results. So again, here, obviously you can see the data now. It's all teeth and tooth related because they're a dentist. They're doing really well for particular search. So look at this term here. What is an onlay? Now, don't forget though, this is a local dental practice and they're getting really good queries. They're getting really good impressions for a particular search term, but they're in Madison, New Jersey. They're not interested to get traffic from somebody in California, New Jersey. Brain goes blank for other states in the United. Georgia. So we want to localize that search term. So although they're ranking well for a lot of what, why, when sort of terms, they probably need to work on localizing those terms so it applies to their local area in Madison, in Morristown, New Jersey. So we can look at the information there. How to take care of braces. What's this one at the bottom? So again, I want to know how popular this search term is doing, how well their site is doing in New Jersey. Let's go town level to start with. So they're based in Madison. So I go to edit. I want to take a copy of this page. So I go here, duplicate, creates a copy. I'm going to bin these two. I'm going to use, so they're in the town Madison. So I'm going to filter this. So it's for the term, that's just the text box, remember. I want to see what sort of search terms they rank when somebody is searching for the town Madison. I go to data. I come down here, remove the filter, add the filter. I'm going to add a client filter. So that removes the name of the client because I don't really want you to see the name of the client this is applied to. So that's why I've added that one. But I'm going to create a new one for the term Madison. So I'm going to include from the queries everything that contains the word Madison. So let's see how popular they're doing for that. So that's great. Look at that, Madison dentist. Now, unfortunately, there's something like 27 places called Madison. There's 27 town cities in the US that you're probably aware of called Madison. So although they're appearing really well, they might be appearing really well for the Madison. There's one in Georgia, for example. So they might also be ranking for that term. So really they need to be telling Google that they're in Madison, New Jersey. So their content should be focused towards Madison, New Jersey, because there's more than one Madison in the United States, which is annoying at times. So let's just make that table bigger. Let's have a look at more data. So they are doing, let's go to view mode. And this is just year to date. So let's change that to last year. See those numbers go up there. So Madison dentist, look at that. It's average. So immediately just been highlighted to me. Average position is 79. So that's on like page 80, 90. So no one obviously ever goes to page 70 or 80 of Google. I don't think most people go to page 2, but that's another story. So why is that so bad? Now, I know that locally, from a local search term, they actually do appear on Google for that term. So just bear that in mind. So do your own local searches as well. So that might look drastic to a client thinking, look, I'm on page 80 for Madison dentist. They're not if you live in Madison, New Jersey. I want to show you, so let's look at the term dentist, because they're a dentist. Let's change that to, so by all means, there is Q&A at the end of this. So if you do have any questions, if I'm talking too fast or I've missed something, I'm going to go back and go back over this. It's also being recorded, so you can rewind and watch certain sections again. So let me just go to the filter. I want to take off the R, I want to add client, and I want to add a new filter that is going to be for the term dentist. So you can see what I particularly use this for is I've got a divorce attorney, I've got personal injury that do car crash or slip and fall. I'll come to this and do a search for slip and fall and the name of the town or the state, and I'll see what they're ranking for, how they're appearing for those particular search terms. And obviously, if they're high, fantastic, happy day. If they're not, I can then go back to the content and think, okay, why are we not ranking well for that particular term when it's based in the state and the service that my client is trying to offer. So that's why that's what I use this report for, is to filter on the different queries. So there we go. Again, not surprised, we've got Madison Dentist. Let's just change that to 20. All right. So that's the results for dental. So we're doing, again, this is year to date. So let's view that as a report. So again, they're doing really well for the term dentist, best dentist in New Jersey, could be higher. So maybe they want to include the word best on their website, but you've got to be careful sometimes how you actually introduce that into the copy. Certainly for attorneys, best attorney in New York, you've got to be careful with those sort of search terms. All right, and then finally, because I do local SEO, again, I'm going to apply it at the state. I just want to show you the difference between New Jersey, in this case, and your actual state. So for this case, it's going to be NJ. So I'm going to show you the difference in the queries. So I'm going to take a copy of page 2 again, duplicate. And I'm going to get rid of these 2. And I'm going to change the filter on this one to add the client again, create a filter, New Jersey. Let's just copy that because I'm lazy. Everything in the query that contains the term sure, I do apologize for saying New Jersey all the time. Obviously, I don't have any clients in Georgia with the data that I can show you. So that's why I'm using New Jersey all the time. So that's filtered with the term New Jersey. However, I also want to filter by the term NJ, New Jersey, NJ for New Jersey. Now, unfortunately, if I just put in filter, if I do a filter like I've just done, it will give me all the words that contain the 2 letters N and J. So I want to be more specific with how I filter that term. So what we need to do is that we do a filter slightly differently. So this one, we're going to do for NJ. Should be a drinking game for every time I say the word NJ, I think. We're going to go down to the filter. Here, we're going to remove R and add filter. We're going to hit the old favorite client one. Going to add the filter, create the filter. Now, so this filter is called NJ, and it wants to include everything from the query. But if I do contains NJ, like I said before, it will contain every word that contains the word NJ in it, associated with it. So I want to be specific with my filter. I want to say no, just want the 2 letters together and nothing else. So I use a bit, now this magic code that I'm pasting in is called regex. Don't be afraid of it. Just take it as written that it works. So that, and this, I think this is probably, again, this is being pasted in the chat or on the Facebook or Meetup. So I'm getting Trisha nodding there. So I think she's just pasting it into play. So for NJ, let me just paste that in there so you can see what I'm going on about. You can see, so I could change this to regex match, regular expression match. It's magic code. So this now is only going to show me for NJ in the filter. If you were for GA, you just change, all you have to do is maybe paste it into Notepad and just change the NJ to GA, etc. So you get the idea. So now when I apply this filter, sorry. Oh, are we being bombed? I don't, sorry. So that threw me. So let me save this filter. And now we've got the different, look at the different terms. And so if I view that, let's change that to last year. Apply. So look at the difference in, or difference and or similarity in. So make sure that you've got, if you're, again, if you're this takes you back to the near me idea. If you live in a town that's got multiple towns around the states, make sure that you've localized it for the name of the town and the state that you're in, because of the numerous towns that are around the country. I think that was it. That was the complicated bit out of the way. Let me just check my notes if there was anything else I wanted to show you. No, I think that's it. Let me, again, let's just change the table size. Like I said, you're not going to break it. The worst you're going to do is delete that table. So don't worry about breaking this. It's pretty resilient. So let me change that to 20. So to summarize, this is how I use the Data Studio report. Yes, it shows. So again, yes, it shows me the what, where. Let me go to view mode. The what, where, when, and why queries. But I also use it to drill into the query data that I just connected to in my Google Search Console report. And that, as a local SEO, is how I drill into the information on a more local basis way. I'm going to stop talking now because I hadn't concluded. That's me finished. So I'm happy to take questions from the floor.
That was really, really interesting.
Hope I didn't talk too quickly then. Well, probably did.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really learned some stuff, and I specialize in content planning, and I think this is going to be really helpful for me. Who has some questions? Anybody? I'm sure there's going to be somebody is going to have a question, because this was really, really great.
Yeah.
I do want to know, why is this better than just looking at Search Console? Is it just the way it's displayed, or is there another reason?
It's, well, both. It makes your data pop more. It makes it more understandable, and you can compare the dates. It's just visually better. The data is exactly the same as what you can find in Search Console. We just present it in a more, for me, in a more actionable way. Things are
kind of more clear.
Yeah. JW is asking, how is GA4 affecting what you do?
It doesn't affect. GA4 does connect to Data Studio, but it has no. But you can. And there is a connector. So when you connect to Google Analytics, you can connect to your Google Analytics 4. It's like the new, people that don't know what GA4, Google Analytics 4 is, it's the new version of Google Analytics, nothing to worry about, but do have a word with your web developer to implement GA4 on your site so you can start collecting data sooner rather than later. But back to the question is, has no effect on this information.
Awesome, awesome. Anybody else have a question, Tricia?
I do, if nobody else does. So you were saying that, like, one of the things we could look at to see, and then, like, for example, near me, and you said that you could look at that and say, well, you need to add that to certain places, maybe on your site or on your title tag. How, is there a way that you like to do that so that it doesn't kind of really come across as spammy, like when you're adding it to content? How do you recommend that?
Great question. Great question. I literally thought of this idea to share with you as I was going through my presentation notes this morning. Okay, how I implement it for my clients. Most of my clients have got multiple offices, and in the footer, they might have the addresses to their 2 or 3 offices. So all I've done in the footer part, where the addresses are, is above, I said, find an office near me in the footer. Okay, and it's a H3 tag. So it says, find an office near me, and then the addresses. So I've added the words near me onto the page. But what I've also done is in the title tag, there's a whole thing about title tags here. I've added to some of my sites, because I'm testing this at the moment, I've added the words near me right at the end of the title tag. So it doesn't even appear in the search results. So it doesn't look spammy. It doesn't appear in the search results when somebody's looking at my listing. They can't see the words near me. So I've gone beyond the ... So I don't care. Google still sees the word near me, even though it's not visually present in the search results. So 2 places, in the title tag and in the footer. And I can tell you, I can guarantee, for one, I would love to share the idea, the example with you, but it is for a client in Georgia, and we are killing it for a COVID-related term.
Okay.
And that's all I've done. That's all I've done.
Okay.
Interesting.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
well, I was just going to follow up with that.
Sorry, I just need to back up what I've said, because I'm saying I've also got a killer piece of content about COVID on the site itself, but the only place I've added the words near me is in the footer.
Okay.
The content is not spammy near me. It's
okay.
That's the only place I've added it. And it's answer. So sorry.
Perfect. So I've got some other questions for you. Thank you for clarifying.
Tasha has a question. She says, when you're adding these terms to your website, is it better to include the entire phrase together, like we are a dentist office located in Atlanta, Georgia, or just have the search term somewhere on the site like Georgia dentist?
No, include it in the content, make it readable, make it write it. We're not writing for search engines. Well, we are, but we're writing for the users. So write it in the content.
Got it.
So for example, you can still see my screening. So I would, a rough example. This is the, let me see if I can find the dental one again, Biz2, that one there. What happens to the root when exposed? So I might have a page already about a practice that I do, or root exposed, root extra, I don't know. But I'll ask that question and have it as a H2 tag, header, H2. And then underneath that, I'll answer it. I'll answer that question. But then I might have 2 or 3 or 4 questions like that asked and answered on that page. And then what I'll also do is add, if that page then starts ranking on page 1, locally as a dental practice about root extracts, I also add FAQ schema, which includes the questions I've added, that includes the questions that are on that page. So not only are they going to say, I might do root extraction, what happens, root extraction, dentist near me, I'm in Madison, so my page about root extraction, I'm a dentist in Madison appears, but on that listing as well, with any luck, you might also get some FAQ questions appearing as well in that search results, which makes your listing stand out against everybody else. It increases your footprint in the search. So not only header, question, answer it, add FAQ schema. That's how I tackle this sort of information.
All right, thank you. We've got time for one more question. So we've got from Mike, does average position take into account paid search ads, or is it for organic position only?
This is organic search. Great question. This is organic search results only.
Awesome. Well, this has been incredibly informative to me. Everybody else think so as well? Andy, where can everybody find you?
I'm, by all means, reach Twitter. You've got my handle there. You've seen it on the slides. I'm happy to connect, reach out, message me. I'm happy to talk, handhold you through personally. If you're having problems connecting to the Data Studio report or anything, just hit me up on Twitter and I'm happy to help.
Follow while you were talking, I went ahead and connected mine just using your kind of following along. So it's really easy to do. Guys and gals, just jump in and just go give it a whirl. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to seeing you again. Trisha is going to be hosting or is going to be presenting next month. So we're looking forward to that. And we'll have more information in the Facebook group, and we'll be posting. Thank you for joining us and restarting this great group, getting it going again, and stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
you so much. Wonderful presentation. Learned so much. Thanks.